Alright guys, last video we talked about backline gear augments. Today we're talking about Vanguard gear augments. So this one is much simpler. Much simpler. Trust me guys, when I say much simpler, it's much simpler. So we'll start off with the basics of DDs. Now DDs, I don't think there's much to talk about when it comes to DD. There's only two choices when it comes to DDs, either the hammer or it's the sword. So obviously, if the DD is more firepower focused, you want to go ahead and use the double swords. I'll go ahead and craft this real quick. Once I make this, hold up. I'll show you the effects. But basically, if it's based on firepower, you go ahead and use this one. If it's based on torpedoes, you go ahead and use torpedoes. Now, when it comes to just regular gameplay stuff like farming, you probably want to go for firepower because even though torpedoes are really good for general mob clearing with like DDs, you would want to go with the double swords. Now, if you're doing stuff like endgame bossing, where you want to use like DDs like KimoCheese or Kazagumo, then you want to use the double torpedoes. Now, once again, it doesn't really matter for the most part. It's basically the same effects when it comes to both gear. Where is my hammer? Oh, I have a hammer right here. I'm being dumb. But is essentially the same thing. It does a slash. Frontmost, I think it's pretty much the same thing. I'm just gonna skim it real quick, but I think it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, it's the same effect. So it's a slash, right? The difference is you get torpedo and hit, firepower, evasion. Obviously, for regular campaign stuff that doesn't require a lot of torpedo firepower, then you want to go ahead and use the dual swords. And if you're doing stuff that requires like endgame bossing, like Kazagumo and KimoCheese for like metas, arbiters, or whatever, torpedoes are obviously the better slot here. So in this case, I'm using hammers on KimoCheese. There you go. As for my Kazagumo, assuming I haven't changed her gear yet, once again, wow, I am not using this. I think I took it off her. I'll just make upload, or not upload, I'll just make new ones, or whatever, I'll just slide these over. Hammers are going to be the best in slot there. Now, when we get to light cruisers, if I can find one, Helena, I just use swords. I think there's only two options available, either the crossbow or the swords. I'll go ahead and craft the crossbow for you guys, show the effects, but I'm pretty sure it's not like super amazing. But watch this. So go ahead and craft. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold up. So go ahead and craft the crossbow. I think holding is much. Well, I don't know. Maybe it might be faster. I'm not sure. But go ahead and equip. We change it to swords. So this one is decrease your Vanguard's damage taken from aircraft by 5%. The skill does not stack with itself. So if you're doing stuff like World 12, World 13, or fighting a carrier-based siren in like Stronghold or something, it hurts a lot, especially if you don't have adaptability. You'll want to use the crossbow. Otherwise, for pretty much majority of the stuff in the game, swords are pretty much better. Now, yes, crossbows do give firepower. Don't get me wrong, they do. But light cruisers, they don't do much damage. They don't. You're not going to get much benefits from the firepower, so it doesn't matter too much about it. Especially if you're doing, if you're in content where it doesn't need the kill planes or whatever. It's not that great. So you can pass on this. If you don't have this, I'm pretty sure this doesn't stack with the other sword slash or whatever. I think, let me see, I don't think so. Let me check DDs real quick, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't stack with the other thing. So yeah, if you're not using dual swords, using hammers, then your light cruiser ship can use the other swords. So a typical team comp, if you're running for like meta stuff, if I were to do like repulse right here, and I'm doing like a DD CL setup, I'm using the torpedoes on Kazagumo, so that means I can use the swords on Helena. So they don't stack, so you get benefits from that, and it makes it so your frontmost Vanguard, which is going to be my E-girl here, is going to do damage there. So if you're not doing World 12, World 13, Siren Stronghold stuff, then you want to use the swords. If we are doing 12, 13, and Siren Stronghold with carriers, they need the help there, then go ahead and use crossbows. But for the most part, though, swords are pretty much going to be the best in slot here. You're pretty much never going to use the crossbows outside of very niche areas. So sword is really good here. As for heavy cruisers, go ahead and take a look at the heavy cruiser. Also didn't mention light cruisers don't do much damage, so firepower is like negligible there. They don't do that much damage when it comes to like bossing, but for like general content, I guess like they're okay, but for bossing, no. You're pretty much never gonna see a light cruiser do like 100k damage on like meta fights unless it's like no, I don't think they're maybe like a torpedo based one, but I can't think of any as right now that's like really good. So heavy cruisers, right? Heavy cruisers, I think pretty much everyone's gonna say great sword, and it is true. You can make a lance, and I'll go ahead and make the lance once again to show you the effects you get from this. But we craft this. Let's go ahead and look at both of them. So once per battle, when this ship falls below 50% HP as a result of the damage, taken, increases ship's firepower for by 20 for 20 seconds. This is situational, and if you don't drop below 50% HP, this is like very, very like useless. It's only good when you're in a situation where you're below a certain amount of health, and you don't want to be that low, because if you're that low, you're pretty much going to be in danger. So it doesn't have a 100% uptime. Not to mention, hit and anti-air aren't amazing, but the great sword here: firepower, torpedo stat, and you get the slash effect. Yes, I'm pretty sure it doesn't stack with the other swords. Maybe if it does, you guys go ahead and correct me. But let's assume it doesn't. Oh, it probably doesn't, but let's say it doesn't. It doesn't matter, because you get firepower, you get torpedo, 2 offensive stats for heavy cruisers, and heavy cruisers do a lot of damage. So yeah, you want to do that. Great swords is pretty much, you're going to use this all the time. Lance, too situational. Not a big fan of it. Yeah, it's not that great. Great sword, 100% uptime on the firepower. Very, very good. And as for large cruisers work the same way as heavy cruisers, I believe. Yeah, so great swords are going to be good here. Now, if you guys haven't picked up already, you pretty much want to treat these gear augments as like cats. You want to run the offensive one most of the time, because it's more damage. More damage means you do more damage to enemies, and when they do more damage to enemies, they sink faster or they're defeated faster, which means you're out of combat much, much faster, which means you save more health. It gets things done quickly. Not to mention there's specific content like Arbiter fights, Abyss Sirens, Stronghold Sirens, and Meta fights that have a restrictive time limit of like 80 to 90 seconds. So you want to do as much damage as possible to make sure that either you defeat the enemy quickly and get a lot of points, or you do as much damage as possible for the next fleet to come in and finish off the rest. So damage is really important here. Very, very rarely do you want defensive like lines or talents when it comes to like cats or gear augments. In this situation, I don't think defensive stats are the way to go. It's definitely going to be the firepower or the aviation or the torpedo for most of the time. So hope you guys learned something from the last 2 videos. It's just pretty much gear augments all together. You stack the offensive ones, you make sure you re-roll to get the max rolls or whatever, and you are good to go. It doesn't take long to convert to max, so you pretty much always roll like the next higher one, so it's not that big of a deal of the RNG. It's just free stats, free damage, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Events tomorrow. Hope you guys are ready, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.